So hello everybody. Today I want to introduce a new concept I've been working on. It's a game called First Past the Post. For those of you who don't know, First Past the Post is an election system. It's a terrible one, but terrible election systems make for great board games. And so we have this board here which represents the UK fairly closely. I mean, we only have 13 major cities, and each of these, around each of these cities is built a constituency, and this is the hexes in the same colour. So Plymouth here is these four hexes that are all orange. That represents the constituency on the board. Now, I should say that this game is currently still a prototype, and I'm looking for help in developing it and building it up, because I would love to get this game out to the world at large. And so it needs much testing and much improving before it can finally get to a stage where I'm happy and I want to, and it's ready to go to be played world over. The basic principle of this game is that we fight for each hex on an individual basis. The hexes on the board are generally considered blocks of voters within a constituency. Okay, so everyone within this hex will vote the same way, and everyone within this, because we really can't represent the entire UK population on a board this size. But the core of this game is you win a hex by campaigning for it. The person who campaigns the best gets the hex, and then at the end of the game, once all the hexes are decided, we then look at the board and we say which cities go to which people. So maybe Plymouth has 2 blues and 1 red and 1 yellow. Well, most blues, therefore Plymouth gets it. Now there are a couple of tiebreaker bits, right? If there were 2 blues and 2 reds, then the one with the city would get it. So that answers that. And if for some reason we just have no, it doesn't quite work in Plymouth. But if we have a bigger area than Plymouth, like Cardiff, and maybe there's one in Cardiff City, but there's 2 reds, 2 blues, a yellow and a green, for example, then how do we know which of the 2 reds or 2 blues won if there's not a city? Well, that's what the town and small town are for. They resolve those kind of ties. Apart from that, the aim is to win the most constituencies and therefore have the most power in government. It's fairly straightforward for that. So on your turn, you will draw some budget cards, which are basically cards with numbers on, like this. We've got a 6 and 38 here. Well, everyone will have a certain number of these cards, and they have to choose face down. They place the card face down and say, this is the card I'm campaigning with for this city, once someone has chosen a region with the battle bus. So they put the battle bus there. Everyone puts a campaign card down. And then once everyone's done that, we reveal our cards. The person with the highest campaign card, mine is 18, so low odds, but someone could, because numbers go from 1 to 50, the person with the highest card wins wins the hex. One thing that's worth noting is, of course, you don't want to win a constituency by a lot. There's no point in winning a constituency by a lot. If you have more votes than the next best party, then you win. And if you have the city and you have the same number of votes, except the one is in the city, which is a slightly larger population, then you win the constituency. There's no point in getting any more in that place. There are a couple of other features to the game that we're currently working on. Currently there are 32 news cards. I don't know exactly how many there will be in the final game. And these cards give you various things you can do. For example, in certain circumstances, you may remove the vote counter from a rural hex of your choice. Actually, I think we changed that in the most recent version too. You may use this turn to campaign for a rural hex that has already been won. So instead of campaigning for an unwon hex, you can do that, which I think we put a cost on. And we also said that the person who has that hex already gets some bonus sway. Because what we represent in this is, of course, this is your campaign budget, but the more money you spend in an area, the better the sway you get in that area. And so we treat these as giving you sway, but also news cards will give you sway. So for example, we have one card here called Central Power, which gives +4 sway in the 2 London constituencies. And so by having that, and you place it down in front of you, that allows you, when you play your campaigns, to play slightly weaker cards because you already have the sway that's needed. There are other things. Another thing you can do in the game, if you get the right card, is gerrymander. So I think we put a pay on it, so you have to play a budget card in order to do this. Now, I just want to explain briefly the gerrymander mechanics. So I want to just take a look at the cities as they are here. So Bristol, the constituency, is currently going to red. As you can see, it's got two hexes are red, 2 are blue, 1 is yellow, but the key one, the city, is red. So that's like 2.1 kind of thing. So it's currently winning in Bristol. But blue is winning here in Liverpool because it has the city, it has 2 votes here. So it's actually got more votes than it needs, because if it didn't have this vote, it would still be winning in that city. So blue gets an opportunity to gerrymander, and they take this card here, this gerrymander hex, and they place that on here. And now Bristol is a slightly larger constituency, but if we count up the 2 cities in play, Liverpool remains belonging to blue because the city is the biggest area, so they get just the most votes. And remember, you don't need more than 1 extra vote than your opponents to win a constituency. But converting this one, suddenly they have 3 major blocks in Bristol that are available for them to win. So that small amount of gerrymandering has enabled blue to take hold of 2 constituencies where before they only had 1. That is First Past the Post as a game as it is right now. My hope is to let this game be played up and down the country in order to give people a chance to experience for themselves just how bad First Past the Post is as a voting system. I'm not completely sure how to market it. Personally, this is not my strength, so I'm looking currently for anybody who is willing to help me with the marketing, or who believes that this is a game worth sending out to the world and letting people explore. I'm a very strong believer that game mechanics are a great way of teaching life lessons, and when you have a situation like First Past the Post available, it makes for great game mechanics and great chances to teach. I like to have some fun. Actually, we have a system you can play on this where you use the alternate vote system, where you just stack the counters, so the person who gets the most sway gets the top counter, and the next amount of sway would get the counter beneath it. And then if you don't get the most, you just take the top counter off of the lowest number in that constituency, and so you reveal the alternative vote system that way. And people can explore that too through the same game mechanics. It's very difficult to make a game that works with, say, direct proportional representation, because how can you cheat it? Whereas a system like First Past the Post is so easily cheatable that it makes for a great board game.